Hi everyone, I wanted to take a moment to take you through the Pacific Lutheran University Library, online library, in order to be able to provide you with some information on how to access some of the databases and resources that you're going to need throughout your nursing education. So in order to access it, you're going to go to www.plu.edu/library/. It's going to bring you over to this page right here, the MoreVet library page. On the left-hand side, you're going to see some resources. The Research and Resources tab, My Library, and ILL. ILL stands for Interlibrary Loan. Services, Places, About the Library, and Library News. Everything about research and resources has to do with some of the research and some of the guides that you might be able to access through the library. You can always meet with a librarian to ask for further information, or even just ask the librarian a question. Even if you're looking for specific topics and you just wanted to get some ideas on some different terms that you might be able to use, asking a librarian is a great idea. There is the archives and special collections, likely not going to be accessed for your nursing education, but the research guides and the database list are. I'll come back to this in a moment. The My Library ILL, so the Interlibrary Loan. Oftentimes when we're searching for some articles, they may not be accessible right when we try to access it through the database. So we could actually request an interlibrary loan, and we do have a librarian here who focuses on that. And so if an interlibrary loan is requested, she tries to get you the article within 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes, depending on how hard it is to locate the article, it may be a little bit longer, but usually within 24 to 48 hours, you will have access to an article. With services, this has a lot to do with the services that are on campus. So there's some student lockers and rooms that could be reserved. And then just some places. These are some great resources for you as well. There is some academic assistance. There is also a Center for Student Success that is here. The Writing Center is going to be a really great resource for you too. In the Writing Center, you'll be able to ask for virtual time with a writing specialist to go over some of your writing and for them to mentor you and provide you with some guidance on how you might be able to improve. If you have any IT questions, there's an IT Help Desk tab here. And then just information about the library can be found here, and then Library News. When we're scrolling on the rest of the page, you'll see some updates up here. And then again, popular resources, which is some of the resources that we did take a look at on that left-hand bar menu just a few moments ago. We're going to go ahead and we're going to scroll right up here into the research and resources. This is another way that you can access this information, but I'm going to go ahead and access it from here. What I'd like to show you is the research guides. In the research guides, you have different subject headings. And if you go into nursing, you're going to find nursing DNP, which is the Doctorate for Nursing Practice, and then nursing 220 competencies. You won't have to really worry about these. I would say go ahead and select on nursing. Now with nursing, some of the top databases that you're going to search for articles is going to be in the Cumulative Index of Nursing and Allied Health Literature that we usually call CINAHL, the Cochrane Database for Systematic Reviews, and then Medline. Now there are other areas that you may search as well, and I'm going to show you some of those areas in a moment. But CINAHL is really the main database for nursing literature, and that's going to be one of the main databases that you are going to be searching the literature in. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and access CINAHL. When you access CINAHL, it's going to ask you to put in your username and password. And then, of course, it's going to ask for Duo verification. If you guys haven't set up Duo yet, Duo is meant to provide an extra security to your logging in. So when we access CINAHL, and I'd like to show you this database, this is exactly what it's going to look like. There is going to be an area for you to enter in search terms. There is going to be an area for you to select Boolean phrases. And then there's going to be areas for you to select certain criteria that you're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and just teach you how to do a quick search on a particular topic. So one of the things that we're going to be focusing on in this class is going to be self-care. And so what we want to do is we're going to want to learn a little bit more about what's known about self-care, especially for nursing students. So I'm going to start with the big topic of self-care. When you put in self-care, what you're going to see are these terms that come up. And a lot of times when this comes up, it provides you with a little extra resources or ways that the term that you typed in may be used in other articles. I think as I'm scrolling through this list, I see self-care or self-care with a dash, or self-management or self-management. So there's self-management with a dash and this one without a dash. I actually like these terms right here, and I think that they would be good terms to use. I am then going to go ahead and I'm going to put in nursing because I want to understand what self-care in nursing looks like, but more specifically, not just nursing, but I want to see students. And I want to understand, nursing school or nursing students, what does that self-care look like? And I want to go ahead and I'm going to start my search from here. Actually, before I start the search, I want to point out this area right here. This is what we call Boolean operators, and, or, and not. When you select and, you're telling the database that you want any articles that have this term, and this term, and this term in it. So it's going to search the database, it's going to search through all of its stuff, and it's going to say it's only going to pull up articles that have these 3 terms in it. I'll show you a little bit more about Boolean operators in a moment, but let's go ahead and select this search. Right now, 923 articles came up, which is a whole lot of articles. And I don't have that much time to be able to read through 923 articles. So I really want to focus on narrowing down my search by selecting certain criteria. For this particular search, I definitely want to be sure that the timing of it is newer. I don't want the articles to be too old, and in any research papers you write, you really want to start with a 5-year mark. So I'm going to start with 2016 to 2021. That's going to give the database an opportunity to search the past 5 years, and it's brought it down to 375 articles. I'm also going to go ahead and select just those articles that are in academic journals. And I'm also going to go ahead and select some full text articles as well, which is this way I can have a quick access to these articles. Finally, I'm going to make sure that all the articles that I look like are in English because I can't read any other language. And so as I'm looking through this, school nurses' role in self-management, anticipatory guidance and advocacy for students with chronic illness, health literacy and self-care management, helping students to self-care and enhance health promotion skills. Some of these, although relatable, some of them might not be. But I want to show you that something like this may be really relatable to what you're looking at. So helping students to self-care, when I select that, it's going to bring me to a detailed record. It shows me the author, it shows me that this was published in 2019, so it's within that 5-year mark, with the British Journal of Nursing, which is a peer-reviewed journal. And right down here, it's going to give me the abstract or a quick view about what this is about. Before accessing the full article, this would be a good way to determine whether or not this is an article that you would want to read and review. And this article happens to actually be attached to the bottom of this too. This doesn't always happen, but in this particular article, it is actually attached here. In many of the CINAHL articles, what you're also going to find is a listening option, which is great because it helps to meet various needs. And this is how you would just go ahead and access the article, scroll through the article, and determine its relevance to what you're researching. So another way to access this in full text is to go here to the PDF full text. And when you open the PDF, it will provide you with the actual article itself and how it was published within the journal. Okay. And so that is one way to search for an article. So now what I would like to do is go ahead back to the Start Here button. And I'm going to go back to the PLU library because I just want to show you another way to access some databases. Sometimes, not just nursing that we're looking at, sometimes we're looking at different disciplines and we want to know what type of databases we can search in order to get the types of articles that we want. One place to go to is the A to Z library, and it allows you to search a lot of different types of databases here, and there's several here. One of the ones that I want to point you to is PsycInfo. PsycInfo is actually a psychology-based, but it's journal, but it's also interdisciplinary in nature. So it's a behavioral health sciences and mental health. This is another place that you could go ahead and search for some articles, and it's set up the same way as CINAHL, and so you would do your searches the same. What I'd like to do is just show you another database that is not set up similar to CINAHL or to PsycInfo. PubMed is going to be a really good example. Here, what you're going to find is in the actual search box, you're going to have just this box and not a layer of boxes like you saw in the other databases. So if you go to access an article, we can type in the search here. We just have to use those Boolean operators that I showed you earlier. So students, you could say students, and then we could put and, self-care, or self-care, and nursing. Now when I put this into the search, this database is not going to know that I'm saying and self-care, or if it's saying self-care and nursing, or how it's going to differentiate between these Boolean operators. So one thing I would suggest is anything that you would want in there to be similar is, for example, self-care or self-care, put some parentheses around it. The parentheses are going to help to limit the database to say, okay, we're going to look for student, and we're going to look for either self-care or self-care with a dash in there, and then nursing with all of the articles. Here, 3,489 articles were found, and then this is where you're going to go ahead and select your criteria. So we want within the past 5 years. We want full text articles. Let's see. There is a section for additional criteria. So we want English. Let's place English in here and then show. And it shows 651. And so there's different things that you can do to narrow this search down using some of the criteria, but what I wanted to do is show you a different way that you might find a different database setup. So overall, that is the PLU library. Everything that you're going to need to do a lot of your searches are in here. All of this really is search, find, and practice. A lot of search, find, and practice. So I would suggest that you go in here, you play around with the resources, you play around with some initial searches, and if you have any questions, ask a librarian or set up a meeting with a librarian. Thank you so much.